All right, friends, happy January. And you remember that this month is dedicated to cycling events across the globe. So I set out looking for events that I wanted to share with you. I only had 8 spots, so I picked some amazing ones that I was personally curious about. And I'm so excited to share them with you. So, you know what? It's time to get out of our comfort zone and find things that are totally a total complete challenge. Wouldn't you agree? I know I've been sitting here always doing the same events, and now that I've done the same events year over, it's time to go and find something more challenging, and that's where I thought about this series. So this next one is super cool because it's right in my backyard, and I just recently got into gravel riding, so I'm over the moon excited about this. It's the Gravel Cup series for Canada, and it's for Canada. It's just here in Ontario, around Ottawa. And my friend Brandon started putting it on. He's a stay-at-home dad. He loves gravel riding. He also lives in a rural county outside of Ottawa, so he knows all the back roads and he's ridden everything. So that's why he decided to put this event together and start opening it up to more people to experience gravel riding in its amazingness in some of the countryside around the Ottawa region. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Brandon. He's a lot of fun. As per usual, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast so you don't miss another episode. And don't forget to be amazing and do something phenomenal with your day. We'll see you on the next episode. Enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow, here sitting in Chelsea, Quebec. And I have a new friend and fellow cyclist who is local to me. And I'm super excited to bring Brendan Gorman on this January series, which is all about cycling events in and around. Well, Brandon is here locally, so North America, Ontario, Quebec. So if you're local and maybe New York State, if you want to travel up, he has a really cool gravel series that has been on the back bench, obviously, since COVID. So I guess for the last 2 years, it's kind of been on hold, but it's coming back this year. And I'm super excited to have Brandon here to talk all about it and give us the details. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you for having me.
So I always love to get started with, how did you personally get into cycling? And then how did this idea of a gravel series come to be?
Well, my dad, when my grandpa was in the military, and they were in late high school, and he discovered cycling over there, and basically it stayed with him for the rest of his life, and racing, and he got into racing when he got back to Canada. And of course, when he had children, he basically instilled the passion in my brother and I, my younger brother Charlie. So cycling has been with me since pretty much I was born, since I was in the baby seats of my parents' bikes, and started racing at basically the youngest age that you could possibly start. So yeah, my dad worked in the bicycling industry, managing and then owning his own shop and operating a shop out of his house that he recently retired from the bicycle business after 50 years. But I got out of cycling at various intervals from my life, and then I got back into it in 2017 to do, what my dad was very road race centric, and we weren't really, steered too many other directions. He never, discouraged us from doing other things, but we just were very, very focused on the road. Although I did do triathlons for 3 years, but that was when I was in like elementary school, and maybe like grade 9, I think was last year I did it. And then I got back into cycling. But yeah, then I got back into cycling in 2017, and to do road racing, but I did the Almont Paris-Roubaix race one April. And, I had a cyclocross bike, just my gravel bike. And, I don't know, just like always curious, always wanting to explore. And there'd been some roads that I had, been curious about for a while. And I decided to check them out. And, the first one was kind of a really wild surprise. I sort of went down it, and I didn't have any idea like what it was like, how long it would take me to get to the other side. I realized that I had forgotten a pump and a spare tube. So, I was like, okay, I better make it through this, or else I'm going to be sleeping in the bush all night. And eventually I made it through to the other side. And I think that was kind of like the first explosion in my head, where I got that at kind of a adrenaline injection, where like, when you discover something new, it just became kind of like an addiction, and I went down the rabbit hole. And I've been, a map lover. I love maps for whatever reason, and I Google Maps. I wish if I had Google Maps like when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have had any friends, because I just would have spent all day like looking at Google Maps, because it's amazing, especially the satellite. So over the last few years, I've just made it my business to expand my radius of roads to, I want to know what this road's all about, what that road's all about. And then, you sort of can put together a route very easily and very quickly, but also have it like a very high quality route. And I've been taking, it hasn't really been, calculated or super organized, but I've been, taking people on rides and showing them roads that I've discovered, and been getting a lot of satisfaction from that. And I think it was in 2018, because of where I live, far west Ottawa, all the the weekly training races. There was the time trial on the Rockcliffe Parkway, or no, it's called something else. It's called Etienne Cartier now. And then there was the Tuesday night crits, which weren't near my house. Actually, the year I got back into cycling, they were all the way at the Gatineau Airport, close to my house. And I thought, like gravel, I like gravel. Why don't I have a like a gravel training race? And I thought I was pretty smart and pretty cunning, and I thought it would be a big success. It turned out that it was not a big success. But it was, in a way, it was a success, because I learned that people weren't gonna come all the way out here on a weekday to do a weekday gravel event. And that same year, I did 3 smaller cyclosportifs. So like 180-kilometer route from the Kinburn Community Center, and those events were organized late in the year, but I got 30 or 40 people, and the events went really well. So I got, again, another adrenaline injection from that. And And then in 2019, I put all the organizational skills that my mom gave me growing up. Thanks, Mom. Uh, I put those into action, and for me, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I don't have a regular job. I've been a stay-at-home dad. I think ever since Kyle turned 1, so it probably would have been somewhere back in 2016. And so I had a decent amount of time to dedicate to the series, and I got Felt as a sponsor. They were going to sponsor the series. I got Shimano was going to be at my marquee event. They were going to have a sprinter van, and I was having numerous like other smaller sponsors. Eurosports was going to be the presenting bike shop, and I got Merli Rochette was going to be there. The cross champion, and she got a second there the other recently, so that was pretty cool. And I was going to get Ted King. He is somebody that draws a lot of people. He's got and after getting to know him a little bit, I can see why. He's he's normally sometimes paying, as I was saying, paying riders to come to events. Sometimes it's tricky, but if you find the right, you have to like say, yes, this is generally a rule, it's a bad idea, but you have to recognize the exceptions where you get proper bang for your buck. And I noticed that when I was advertising my marquee event, the R3G3, people were signing up like crazy. It was the registrations were rolling in, and it was bonkers. But then of course I was down in South Carolina. My family and I normally go down to South Carolina in March, and that was just when all the COVID stuff was hitting the fan. And oh my God, I went through such a process of all the stages of grief I went through. It was awful. Like I was like, I just couldn't believe, I had basically teed up.
Yeah, we were even gonna go. Like I had reached out to you and you gave us a discount code, and I'm like, yeah, we'll get some girls out there, and then everything like
my heart and soul works. So I've never there hasn't hardly been anything that I worked so hard on and then just had it go poof. And 2019 was a giant year. I was getting anywhere from 194 and drags on. People are really excited in spring, but I was getting 150 people later on in the season, which was still a lot for me, because really it was like 2019, I sort of considered that like a redo of my year one. I sort of consider that my my first year, because in 2018 I didn't even start to organize the cyclo sportif gravel races until much later in the year. But didn't really have much of a choice in the matter, so I had to roll with it. And I think I got a lot of goodwill from 2019. I did a good enough job so that people will be coming back, and I'm excited about next year. I've sort of got a rough outline of the events that I want to do. I think I got a couple from two are going to be, I know, it's things could, one thing I know about events is organizing is very hard and things can change. So nothing is written in stone, but so far the basic outline is 2 events from Calabogie and 2 events from either one might be from Kin Vineyards, another one might be from the Kinburn Community Center. So like 2 events in my area of West Carleton and 2 events from Calabogie. So what I like about what I like about my area of West Carleton is that the elevation is it's rolling, like it's not pancake flat, but whenever I have events out in Lanark or Renfrew, there's you do 80 to 100 kilometers and you're looking at 1,000 meters of elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas around my area, if you're doing 80 to 120 kilometers, you're looking at maybe 5 or 600 meters of elevation. And I've kind of had a lot more time to think about things, and I used to think that, like, the roads around my neighborhood weren't as exciting. The where I should go is out in the highlands, because the roads are more twisty and narrow. But every time I go riding with my gravel cup gang, and Jen is one of them,
Yeah.
I look at the roads around West Carleton and I'm just like, these are really awesome roads. These are really, really awesome roads. You got views of the Ottawa River and the Gatineau Hills, and
Yeah.
they're just they're really, really nice roads.
And you have to think, like, if there's somebody like me who's first timer,
yeah,
I would probably most likely love them, right? Because it's when you've been on them for a long time, like, oh my God, they get kind of boring, but it's exciting for someone who's coming in. So you've got 4 events in total over the summer. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to expand.
Oh, 4 is a lot.
Beyond that, just because I got, I don't want to say burned is the right word, but I learned my lesson, from COVID. And, I don't want to organize, a ton of events. And then, I I see what's going on with variants here, variants there, and everything is just so unpredictable. And, I would love to do more, but it's I've got 2 young kids, Kyle and Quinn, and 6 Kyle's going to be 7 soon and Quinn's 4, and they deserve my attention. They're only going to be this age, the ages that they are, they're only going to be there once. And then so I've got to think about them as well. How much time do I want to put into something? Because every more time I put into something else, the less time I can put into them. So that's another thing that's kind of given me another jolt with the whole COVID thing is the proper better balance between family. Because my son Kyle really took to cycling. Like last year, he did as a 5-year-old, he rode like 1,200 kilometers.
Whoa!
And then last winter, he came to us and he said, like, he out of the blue, like, we had nothing to do with it. He just came and said, I want to ride 4,000 kilometers in 2021. And we're like, okay, we don't really have any idea where he got.
Who's going to ride with him?
He just, and he had just finished senior kindergarten, and now he's in grade 1. And so I said, okay, because it's funny you picked that number, because it was just right on. I mean, maybe to other parents it wouldn't sound like this, but to me as a cyclist, and knowing what my dad was able to do, my dad would take us to some things, and the people who were organizing it were like, are you sure your kids can do this? And my dad was like, yeah, they took us to they took us to a bike tour when I was in grade 6 and my brother was in grade 4, and it was 130 kilometers. And the tour leader said, what are you guys doing? Like, I'm going to call Children's Aid or something, like, I'm just exaggerating, but like, but we finished. By the time the tour organizer finished, we had already packed up everything and got our ice cream cones, and we were leaving the parking lot. So, I know that as long as you give your kids food, they can just keep going. They've got a tremendous smile, bounces off the walls. So he had so much energy, he was just like waiting for an outlet. And so, we started early on in the season. I was actually like, he was the only kid in his entire school that was like, we were riding just school, which was 16 kilometers, and then riding home. And I had, in the spring, I had never been so frozen in my life because I wasn't generating any heat. I was riding with him, and even though I was dressed super warm, we're going like 15K an hour. And I was just like, oh my God, like just so cold, so freaking cold. And thankfully I was able to get him on his, he's got a road bike, a felt road bike, and a felt gravel bike, cyclocross bike. And I didn't think he would be able to fit those this year. And thankfully he did. And I mean, long story short, he rode 4,000 kilometers. He did multiple rides, like over 100 kilometers. He,
Wow.
yeah, one day we started from my brother's in Nepean and we rode all the way. We did a loop of Gatineau Park, and then we did a loop of the Elmer bike path. And then we rode back to my brother's, and it was like, it was 105K with like he wanted to ride 100 kilometers and he wanted to have over 1,000 meters of elevation. So we did that. So,
Wow.
I'll get back to my events, but it was quite a year with my son riding 4,000 kilometers. And he's, like I said, he's 6 years old. He did the Ottawa Bicycle Club youth program. He did Osmond Backers mountain bike camp. He did Nepean BMX racing. The BMX racing was actually really cool. I was pleasantly surprised by
they have a good track
out
in the West End.
Yeah, I got a BMX bike too, and I like doing it. I get on there, and I try not to go too crazy because I heard too many stories of adults putting themselves out of commission for a while. So
I've been on them with my mountain bike, and it's those bumps that will get you. I'm pretty sure it's like this, and then you end like you nose plant, and then next month you don't have your handlebars up.
And then he did the cyclocross, which I'm not huge, and I'm kind of, cyclocross is kind of growing on me, but it's not something it'll have to grow on me a little more, no doubt it will. And he's even got like his bike set up on the trainer. He's got a Garmin watch, so he's anyway. So that's kind of a side story to the Gravel Cup, because I want to organize these events, but I've also got this kid whose enthusiasm for cycling is beyond anything that I could imagine. So
that is a full-time.
That kind of threw me a curveball. So I don't want to do 10 events, because I've got this guy who his goal next year is 6,000 kilometers. But so anyway,
you know what you need to do?
2 events in West Carleton.
You know what you need to do, Brandon, is get him out there testing your routes. You're like, okay, get him a map, and like, okay, you go. I don't know if you're gonna let him ride by himself just yet, but but go testing. Like, you're like, okay, let's go test a couple routes. What do you think? I don't know. Put it to some good use while you have to get out there.
He already has to some extent. I mean, like, we got a cottage out in the Madawaska Highlands, which are, basically these are giant. They're either like, it's all like in mini mountains, and he was on the forest access roads, which are like the logging truck roads, and he was going down hills with out touching the brakes, and he was cornering, like he was going around the corners so fast. There was one time where there was a creek and a culvert, and there was a tight turn just before it, and he was going so fast, and I'm watching this happen, and it was almost like time slowed down, and I was like, either he's gonna kill it or he's gonna go right into the water. And somehow he made the turn, and I don't know how he's able to. He goes down, pavement, gravel, he goes downhill like he's a bomb. And his top speed in Gatineau Park one day was like 55K an hour, and he's 6 years old. So,
Oh my,
but
he's 6 years old. Oh gosh, you have to think about
yeah,
his future, right? Like,
yeah,
is it into mountain biking? Is he gonna hit the track? Like, what
yeah.
do you think
So
he
like
might?
next year, one of the things is because I got my wife a gravel bike too from Eurosports from my
Yeah.
bike, and so she's been able to ride with, she likes the gravel roads, but she had a road bike with the skinnier tires. So she wasn't with Kyle as much, just because like she had a bad crash on gravel with the skinnier tires. But, she, for example, or I might, for example, ride Almont Roubaix, like the 40-kilometer route with Kyle next year. But yeah, getting back to the events there, like the two other events are at Calabogie, and I mean, most people in the area are familiar with Calabogie. It's got a lake. It's got a beautiful lake. It's got a beautiful hill, a mountain that you can see, and there's lots of amenities. It's got a very good community center. It's got a lot of things going for it. So two events from there. One of them I'm hoping is going to be like a rail trail event. The county of Renfrew, um, well, and Lanark too, they've invested a lot of money into rail trails. And normally, like some rail trails, depending on where they are, can be a little boring. But these ones are, they're they're up to snuff, and I would like to promote them. And I think for people who are may have never considered going to an event before COVID happened. Now you can't buy bikes. Apparently, there's more people out there riding bikes now than before COVID. I just had the idea that if I have an event that uses the because you can go up from, you can ride actually rail trail all the way from Renfrew down to Kingston. Last
Mm-hmm.
year we actually did that. We rode all the way down to Kingston, and then we rode back over the course of 2 days. And now you can actually ride all the way from Smith Falls to Petawawa.
Oh
The
wow.
Ottawa Valley Rail Trail has been extended. This year it was extended beyond Renfrew to Cobden, and then
Right.
Cobden to Pembroke. And it was already finished mostly between Petawawa and Pembroke. And, now it's, but you can also, once you take the K&P trail north from Calabogie, you go towards Renfrew, and you can take the Ottawa Valley Rail Trail. It's really nice. It goes like right along the Ottawa River towards Arnprior. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
another rail trail. It's called the McNabb Braeside Recreation Trail, and it turns into the CN Trail closer to Renfrew. And you can do kind of a nice loop, and it's got like enough variety in the rail trails. Like the McNabb Braeside is not stone dusted, but it's not like rail rock, so it's a little gnarlier but not too gnarly. But rail trails, people like them because there's no cars.
Right.
And even I like riding these trails as well. They're and I can throw in some variety on some of my favorite gravel roads on this same route, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to send people directly through Renfrew. If I get 200 people, I don't want to send them right through Renfrew. So you kind of have to like figure out a way around it, that and you don't want to also do a direct crossing of Highway 17, because that's basically like a
Yeah.
2-lane freeway.
Yeah.
So but this is the good thing about having ridden all the roads around here and know them so well, is that coming up with routes is the least of my problems. Figuring out ways to solve logistical problems by not crossing this road or not crossing that road or not going through this town, I can easily find ways around. And not only that, it kind of adds to the variety of the route. Like actually on this rail trail route, there's there's a couple roads that are actually like pretty much near the very, very top of my favorite gravel roads to ride. So it's a really good mixture. And then the other the marquee event this year is going to be from Calabogie, and it uses a lot of
Are you going to use the are you going to use the ski hill like as a starting location?
No, it's
Oh, okay.
too difficult from there because
Right. Oh,
then
okay.
you'd have to have all these cyclists ride Calabogie Road to get to the
Oh, so
start.
where would you
So
start in
like,
Calabogie then?
well, there's right when you get to you know, you go past Burnstown, and then
Right.
you know, almost as soon as you get to Calabogie, there's you sort of make a left and then you make a right, and you're at the Lions Club. It's on Mill Street in Calabogie.
Oh, okay.
And it's the Lions Club, but they've also got this like NHL size outdoor covered arena. So it's like
Cool.
you know, they've got a scoreboard. I mean, we're not going to obviously be playing hockey, but it's quite extravagant. It's
Oh,
it's got a
cool.
scoreboard, it's got its own Zamboni, but the main thing is that this for in the summer can protect you from the elements. So, you know, if you're out riding, there's not really much you can do. I can't have a roof over you when you're riding, but you know, when you're not riding, you know, or for spectators or for whatever, you know, you know, other than being in the community center, you can be, if it's
Outside.
if it's hot out and you can get out of the sun, or if it's raining, you can get out of the rain. But it's just this massive outdoor covered arena. And it was actually funny because
Cool.
I went to a meeting with some officials from the county of Renfrew, and not knowing one of the people who spearheaded these out, because there's a couple of them, I basically said these things are pure genius. And the guy who was one of the guys who was like the main guy who's got these in was there. And he's like, yeah, it was my idea. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I
Oh, wow. So,
didn't even mean
so
to get that.
Brent, yeah. So can I ask you about your categories? How are you going to run the categories for the event?
Um, Goodness, I haven't, you know, I haven't really
Have you done it in the
thought of that.
past? What did you do before? Just a second.
Well, what
Did this
I
run
really
before? Did you
not
have the
well, the
gravel
series
series?
ran before
Right.
in
What categories did
2019. Yeah, in 2019, I just had 2019. I just had open men, open
oh,
women.
okay. Oh,
You
okay.
know,
So just two
because
categories.
yeah, because you know, one of the things about gravel that I'm attracted to, and I think most people are, and that's why
Right.
it's sort of taken off, is that most people show up to to for a social fun event, and
Mm-hmm.
they might not be racing, or they might not be racing in the traditional sense. They might be
Right.
racing themselves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Or
Like
just for time.
everybody everybody will see their name on a results sheet, and there will be a time beside it.
Mm-hmm.
And if the race happens over multiple years, you know, you can compare your time to your friends, you can compare your time to your own time and try to beat it. But you know,
Right.
really there's you know, there's the Derek St. Johns of the area are, you know, far and few between. And you know, sometimes I think it's a shame that people, you know, go out and blow their brains out over on these courses, because they don't really, you're not able to take the time to
Enjoy
enjoy
them.
them. And
Right.
that was one of the things
I like
my brother, sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say I like that mindset and I like that option because I know as a woman and the more I hear more women getting into it, you would
Mhm.
probably attract a lot of women if it was just an open category, right? Because, you know, a lot of us just, I mean, there are some of us who are competitive and will just go out for time,
Mhm.
but there are a lot who will probably come with groups of friends and just want to
Yeah.
do the route. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big pushes that all like gravel organizers, and I don't think anybody has found like the magic solution is to get more
Mm-hmm.
women
Mm-hmm.
into it. But you know, if you look at what any maybe mountain biking would be an exception, and I don't know enough about BMX, but there's there's very few instances of, well, not even if you talk about parity, but there's usually like massive gaps, like especially with, you
Yeah.
know, road, the difference
Mm-hmm.
between how the women are treated in, you know, by the
Yeah.
UCI for the road versus the
Mm-hmm.
men. I personally find it like embarrassing, you know, like there should have been a women's Tour de France years ago.
Yeah.
um there should be, there should have been almost like, you know, and it doesn't even have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be, although cycling is very traditional, it'd probably be easier to base it on, you know, like the Tour of Italy. Well, there is a Tour of Italy for women, but I mean, it's just um, all I can do is try. I've got a mosquito in the house here. Oh, here we go.
I can't
Okay.
believe you have mosquitoes right now. That's
I don't
unbelievable.
know where they find their ways. No, they find their way in. I don't.
But they
Yeah, I don't
should be
know.
dead by
It's a
now.
mystery.
It's freezing
I
out.
don't know. I don't know.
But I
Um,
like
it heard
I
there was
think you
a. It
should
must have heard wanted to see some of the podcast.
yeah, that's right. He's coming to be a guest.
Yeah.
Hey, but like I know what you mean. And like, even when I got into racing in 2005, it was very like, you know, we're all the women, and it was always just like the same group of women. And I
Yeah.
found even now that it's with Quebec, I mean, Ontario is kind of shifted more, but the whole category thing, like there's no way to bring women in so they can develop. And that's kind of something that I want to
Yeah.
change next year in my
Yeah.
event is having more categories for women.
Yeah.
You know, like UCI, like, you know, the DCBA, you know, like D being the
Hmm.
first timer, the newbie, the first year kind of, and then moving up categories as they get fitter. Just
Yeah.
makes more sense. But I like
There's
the open
many.
category.
There's many things that I probably will do, like, but you know, every year, and
Yeah.
again, I was put on pause for 2 years, but every year the series grows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, even if it's not like conscious in the front of my head, I think, you know, somewhere back there, there's, you know, an even more in-depth plan. And a lot of stuff just flows naturally. I find like I don't
Yeah.
have to overthink it. It just
Mm-hmm.
comes. And I think a lot of stuff will naturally develop, because a lot of people say, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? And
Yeah, I know.
I thought like that's something I have thought of, but it's like a step-by-step process.
Well,
So the
it's
series
like
every
you're,
year will be different.
yeah.
I
I mean,
I
it's
am
like you're starting over,
semi-methodical.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know, for one of the things that I did do in 2019 was just for, you know, just for kicks, I decided to hold unofficial gravel nationals. And so I did that, and I had one, I had open men, and I had nobody said anything, like the CCA or the OCA didn't call me up and say, oh, you're not allowed to do this, because really there's not much you can do. I said it was unofficial gravel nationals. And so I did that, and actually had Bruno Langlois win it, who he won road nationals in 2016, and he was,
Uh,
you know, and Derek St. John, actually two guys from a pro team. God, what the heck was that team? Oh, there, it was kind of crazy. These two guys showed up from this pro team. I can't remember the name of it there.
from
Ed
Montreal?
Walsh. No, it was kind of a joint thing with an Australia, and it'll come to me at some point. But anyway, it brought some people out of the, and so when I was in 2020, I was going to have gravel nationals again, and for that event it was going to be multiple categories. It was even going to go down to like cadet age. You know, it was because normally there isn't a cadet nationals, but with gravel you can basically do whatever you want. So it was going to be, you know, there was going to be masters categories. So, you know, generally speaking, I like my events to not be totally focused on racing. However, feel very strongly that there should be something for the racers, even if there's even if they're less than 25%. And you know, if I'm gonna have timing anyway, because there was lots of people. At first, I wasn't timing the short course, but people were, you know, expressed their opinion that they wanted to see their name beside a time.
Everybody wants a time.
Everybody wants a time. So, you know, if I'm doing that anyway, I'm gonna have something for the racers, and it turns out everybody wants a time. So, but for, you know, for gravel nationals, it was sort of going to be the one event where I was going to, you know, that one was going to be more about the racing, and it was actually going to be really cool because it was going to be on a 34-kilometer loop that yeah, and it was going to have like stone dust rail trail. It was going to have slightly gnarly rail trail. It was going to have a short unmaintained road section. It was going to have a summer maintained road section. It was going to have regular gravel roads. It was going to have like a treed wider gravel. Like it had everything, and it was going to be at this apple orchard, a really picturesque apple orchard. So if I do a fifth event, it might be that one, but again, I'm just a little hesitant. Getting back to the event. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, if you have your 4 events and you just have those 2 categories, you know, by the end of the season, you will have enough people interested in doing something more competitive.
Yeah, probably.
I think. Like,
yeah.
I
had a crazy idea about, because the spot where I was going to do gravel nationals had enough like, you know, cell phone coverage, or it had enough technology coverage where I almost could have, like, you know, taken my GoPro. I think if you get a good enough GoPro, you can like almost live stream it. So I never, you know, got far enough down the road to, you know, research it, but you know, the ATV clubs were going to come out and help, and, you know, other, you know, hopefully would have like some other vehicles. I have a van. My sister-in-law has a Jeep. And so I was going to see if there was any way that, you know, even if we didn't live stream it, at least record it and then put it on the internet. And because it was a loop, you know, and it was an interesting enough loop that, you know, people wouldn't have really minded to do it again or even 3 times. It was really cool. I took my brother and Jen out there to do the loop, and they were skeptical. You might be onto something here, Brendan. But getting back to the Calabogie, the marquee event in 2020 was supposed to be the R3G3, but that course was, it's something I might get back to in the future. But, you know, after I did the course a couple times with Mike Nash and Jen, and the remoteness of it, you know, plus with all the uncertainty, I just decided that I'm going to put that one on the back burner for the moment. Like, it may come back, not next year, but the year after. But so the marquee event that I'm planning on for next year from Calabogie is what I like about it is that it uses not like unmaintained roads, but what I actually find is the roads I enjoy the most are what they call like mean, they're not actually, I don't know what they're just not
Service
maintained
roads?
in the winter.
Oh,
Yeah, I call them summer maintained roads, but
yeah.
they're roads that get maintained, but they just don't get plowed in the winter.
Oh, okay.
So, they don't get they don't get giant ruts in them because, if whatever damage happens to them, it gets
Hmm.
fixed. Whereas with unmaintained roads, the damage just gets, worse and worse over time,
Hmm.
or it's rare that, an unmaintained road doesn't get, really beat up.
Right.
And getting back to um, for what there's a lot of people who like gravel events. Um, for like the majority of gravel events, in my opinion, have a lot of, um, for lack of a better way of saying it, they have a lot of gnarly sections like that are, border, really straddle the line between mountain biking and gravel cycling, or even
Uh-huh.
like, cyclocross. There's no shortage of events out there that, advertise massive amounts of elevation, massive amounts of gnarliness. um the Almont Roubaix was, if you go, I think it's still there, it says the Almont Roubaix on the website says like, this route has roads on it that should not be ridden on a bicycle, or
Oh,
something like that.
really?
And, whether you're, it doesn't even matter. Like, I mean, I guess I'm thinking, I don't know, as something, as a way, because there's no shortage of men that show up to gravel events, and
Hmm.
there's some men who
Well,
would
don't
benefit from
worry
this as
about
well.
the women will come because there's enough women gravitating to gravel. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to get the word out. So
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that, where can we find you, and when on your website will all the information be ready? That's the question, because this is what's about getting these events
Hmm.
on your calendar now
Yeah.
that it's January, and working towards them, because it's also a month where people really start amping up their
Mhm.
training, really focusing and dialing in. So
Yeah.
are these races going to be part of your calendar, and where can we find you, and when will the website be ready for registration?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that I'm kind of, because I go with the Ontario Cycling Association, I am sort of subject to their protocols, and November
Um,
15th was the first deadline to submit to be considered for the preliminary calendar. So, they're going through all the submissions now, and at some point they'll reach out, and it eventually gets worked out. I sort of have a running, spreadsheet of events that I don't want to conflict with,
right.
events I want to do myself, plus, like, family
Plus your son,
commitments.
6,000
Yeah,
kilometers,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So yeah, I mean, really the only answer I can give is I get everything done as soon as humanly possible. I don't really, once I
So
have
where's your
control of the
website, Brandon?
situation. Oh, it's just gravelcup.com. It's very
Hey,
easy.
that's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's very
So
easy. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about next year. I'm hoping
so am
that
I.
I'm gonna try to make my I can the thing is, and what I was talking about before, I really like to get out there as one of the main messages,
Right.
is that I can do tons of exciting, challenging courses. They'll still be hard, it'll still be challenging, it'll still be scenic, but I'm going to try to minimize the mountain biking or the cyclocross or the super gnarly aspects of my
Hmm.
series, because in this area I'm so lucky to have such a variety of roads to choose from that I don't need to introduce some type of insane section to to make the event um stand out. So I'm really lucky to live in this area. I'm really lucky to have the base of riders in Ottawa. Like, I want to attract people from all over, but there's a sizable base of cyclists that are right in Ottawa that I can rely on to come, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to, so it's gravelcup.ca, and I imagine by March, I'm sure everything will be updated, as I think calendars are usually ready by end of February, March for sure. Because I know everything starts in April.
I would really hope to have like registration open, as early, like as close to January 1st as possible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would really like that to happen. The OCA has a new president. They just got a new president, so they're probably going through some new challenges. I think the new president came from Ringette, so she might have a lot to learn about cycling.
Oh my gosh.
And it's dealing with the governing bodies is a whole thing in itself. There's let's not get into they
that.
Have their challenges.
We could talk about that all day between Ontario.
We have a whole podcast about that. Yeah.
But so guys, make sure that you take a serious look. Just look on the website. They have quite a bit up there already from their past, Brendan's past event, and add it to your calendar. Like, just keep space for that 4 events, get 2 out of 4 in there. I know I'm already looking at events to put on my calendar, but I know for certain that in our club, there's a lot of girls who are gravel riding and can be convinced to attend at least one of them, which I'm super excited about. So
would you believe that I'm actually a quiet introvert until I start talking about Gravel Cup?
I gotta shut you down. But because I don't actually
like to talk.
Yeah, I could tell. Because guys, to all our listeners, this is the first time we've met. We're both in the same region, and we've just been communicating over email, and it started in 2020, where we were going to. I had heard about a series and approached him, or you approached me about having the women join. I'm like, yeah, for sure. And obviously things changed, but we could just pick up where we left off. And I was just thinking of actually posting on my group page to get everybody kind of thinking about it in the meantime. Because we're always looking for things as a club to participate in that are not super competitive, so everybody can feel like they have their small group of people that they go with and they ride at the same level, and I think this is perfect. So I'm super excited. Thanks a lot, Brandon, and thanks to all of our listeners here. Gravelcup.ca, go find him. Cheer him on as he's cycling.
Long live gravel. All hail the gravel.
Hail the gravel. Okay, yes. We can't let go of road, but anyways. I want to do some road next year. I'm getting a new road bike, actually. And I suspect he'll be on his trainer trying to bang off as many kilometers with his son over the winter as possible. Once I'm done with the chainsaw. Yeah, that's right. So much chainsaw lately. Thank you so much, everybody, for having me. Listening. Yeah, thanks, Brendan. And make sure you share this with somebody who who's into gravel riding, who's in this region or not. Just add it to your calendar, and don't forget to follow Brandon. Are you guys on Instagram or anything? Yes, we're on everything. I will add their link. I'll go find them and follow myself. And TikTok. Oh, okay. No, not TikTok. Not TikTok. Instagram. Instagram's where it's at. Yeah, and the podcast, Secrets from the Saddle podcast on Instagram. Thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing day. Thanks, Brendan.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day, make sure you ride your bike, and don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.